Hey y'all, Monk Joseph here with the Broken Buddha. We're going to talk about the Sabbath today. This is a continuation from a video way back. If you want to see a basic about this, go to Christian Contemplations and find the video titled Honoring the Sabbath. So this will be a continuation of that. I finally got my research done, so I'll try to keep this short, but it may not be because there's a lot to it. So the Sabbath is a Judeo-Christian concept of from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday, you do absolutely nothing out of respect for the creator, the one creator, and the day that he took to rest after everything had been created. And the reason why I see the Sabbath as important is because as part of the Ten Commandments, there is an interesting concept where you've probably never honored the Sabbath and you probably don't think anything of it. But if you've ever understood or studied Christianity or the Bible, then you know that all sin is equal. If you've not honored the Sabbath, God sees it the same as murder, adultery, lying, whatever you want to call it. I would argue the lying thing because I think it's an extreme sin. But no, in the Judeo-Christian Bible, it's all the same. In Christianity, it's all the same. So you might see it as I'm not going to participate in some old ritual or practice, but if you believe in these things, then God sees it as you murdering somebody. There's no difference. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I don't do all these things. I do try to honor the Sabbath when I can, how I can, and always take it with that approach. Don't ever worry about these things being perfect. Just do the best that you can, and that's what practicing religion and the path of these sages is all about. But let's get right into it. Number one is do not alter anything. That is the number one key rule. If you think that you're altering something out of its natural form, and I'll get into how and why, then just don't. So it's split up into the labors of man, which is 4 things, and then the labors of tabernacle, which looks like 2 things, and then there's 39 things. So this video is going to be longer than 3 minutes. So number one, don't alter things. That is the main thing. If we're breaking it down simplistically, the simple version, like I was just saying, the labors of man, that would be no baking bread. These are the basic core principles, not the expounded version. This is the basic version. No baking bread, but that refers to all heating elements and altering food in any way, shape, or form. 2, making clothes, which modern times would be correlated to shopping, either online or in person, or crafting clothes, or doing any type of crafting like that with cloth. 3, writing, which would be things that you wouldn't even think of in modern times, like texting or unlocking a phone. Bam, you just broke the Sabbath. You murdered somebody. 4, building a house. Now that was equated to, in modern times, it would be equated to no work, no main hobby. If your hobby is associated with your job or benefiting you at your job, no hobby. And things like, even something like Minecraft. You shouldn't be, you're building a house in Minecraft, you're breaking the Sabbath. And I know that sounds crazy, but we'll get into why I went so in depth with that later to that degree. I was really questioning that, but you're building something. You're not supposed to be building anything on the Sabbath. It's the complete opposite of what you're supposed to be doing, no matter how you're doing it. Because I know that sounded a bit extreme. Okay, and then the 2 labors of the tabernacle, that would be no additions to person or modifications to person, and even showering would not be okay because you're not supposed to. I know that it said that showering is not okay, but I do want to point out that no, because you should be worshiping Yahweh or whatever you worship on the day after that on Sunday. So there's that. I mean, the stillness and calmness is supposed to be just you in the emptiness and stillness with the all that is, or whatever monotheistic God you believe in, or polytheistic God you believe in, whatever. And normally you'd want to be clean for that, but it's not the same as like waking up and washing your hands or getting a shower to read scripture or pray. So you're not supposed to shower on the Sabbath. The other one was nothing to improve appearance, and that includes your even like your church. You can't go work at your church on Saturday. You just murdered somebody. I'm gonna keep using that example, by the way, guys, out of the 10 Commandments, so don't hate me for that. Okay, now let's get into the 39 things. I'll try to keep it as short as I can. But I just want you to know how in-depth the Sabbath is for anybody who ever does try to, or you've heard has done it. So here we go. 1, plowing. Do not disturb earth. And that includes things like playing golf in those shoes, wearing high heels in the grass, or putting a chair in the grass. Anything that's going to break dirt, no dice. Sowing, no water on soil. You can't even water your grass. Bam, you just murdered somebody. If you don't know what I'm talking about that because you missed that part, go back and watch the beginning. It's just referring to all sin being equal, and Sabbath is murder, both on that same chart. So I could change it to different sins, but whatever. No reaping. In modern times, that would be no grocery shopping. You're not going to go out in your backyard and reap your week's worth of food. But no reaping means no collecting your groceries also. Gathering, no yard work. You can't rake leaves. You can't cut grass. You can't go pick up that stick and put it with the other sticks. That's gathering. So you can't even do that. And it's very, very serious. Like there is no wiggle room with any of this stuff when it comes to Sabbath. Threshing. Threshing is like shelling a seed. So you can't eat pistachios unless they're already shelled. And you can't squeeze fresh orange juice. You can't take something out of, you can't alter something's inside by removing it with labor. Any amount of labor. And no pistachios, that would mean no sunflower seeds either unless they're already shelled. Winnowing, that would be no separating with air. That one was tricky because that's something that they use too. Winnowing is when you separate different sizes of grain with air, but it's been projected that you could say like using an aerosol would be considered winnowing in modern times. But that's a tricky one. Look up winnowing and you'll have to, there are some of these that aren't as clear and they're a little bit cryptic. Okay, number 7, sorting, food or clothes. You can't do laundry on the Sabbath. Oh, no, you just murdered somebody or lied. Number 8, grinding. You can't use a salt or pepper grinder, and you can't use a medicine grinder. You got to pre-grind your medicines Friday before sundown, and pre-grind your salt and pepper if you're planning to use it, or don't have the fresh ground on that day. Number 9, sifting. That would include making coffee, tea, going to Starbucks or Dutch Brothers, because there is a sifting process with all of those coffees that they make. They have to sift, it's literally a sift in your coffee maker, whether you're using a filter or the ones that they use, the metal ones, you're sifting. So what else we got there? And you can't have someone else sift for you either. It has to be already ready because that would be going to get it. That'd be going to pick up, technically I think that would fall under reaping, but not the point. Let's keep going. So it's a long list. 10, amalgamation, making semi-solids like oatmeal, rice, or grits. You can't make any of that stuff, but that was already covered under the heating element. You can eat those things, but you can't make those things. You see what I'm saying? Number 11, baking and cooking, no heat element. That is the most important part about that. You can't heat anything. You can't use a microwave. You can't use a stove. You can't use a rice cooker. Coffee maker, no heating elements, because back then they would only use fire, but now we have all these other things in place of fire, and you got to think about that if you're going to try to do these things. Number 12, shearing. You can't cut your hair or your nails at all. You can't shear anything off your body. Personally, I follow the Kesh of the Sikhs or the Sikhi, and I don't cut anything anyway, but I do cut my nails. If you're honoring Sabbath, you can't cut your nails. 13, scoring means scouring, like scrubbing really hard. So you can't do any laundry, you can't do any hard scrubbing dishes. You gotta just soak them till tomorrow. All right, moving on. Number 14, combing. So that would include hair. You can't comb your hair on the Sabbath. You gotta leave all that stuff out. You gotta use your hands and just do a quick brush through if it's in your way. Dyeing. So we don't do so much dyeing with our own clothes these days, but so these days if you're like dyeing your nails by painting them or using makeup, like you are dyeing something, you're changing the color of it, even if it's only temporarily or semi-permanent, you are changing the color of one object by making it a different color. It's dyeing, no matter how you look at it, and it is included in the modern stuff. All right, spinning, twisting anything. So if you're sewing and you're twisting for that, or you're making butter lamps, you can't even make a butter lamp for prayer. I'm going to be silly about this and say blunts. If you use cannabis and you like to smoke blunts, you can't twist a blunt or a joint, anything you have to twist. But then again, you can't use fire elements. So that stuff wouldn't even matter. Okay. I didn't find anything for warping. You'd have to do some little more research on that. I didn't do that research. Like I said, I got the 39 here, but I didn't get everything else. 18, constructing, netting 2 loops. Okay, so when for constructing, they're talking about, a fisherman netting loops for stuff like that. Weaving, so knitting, needlepoint, basket weaving would be covered under all that. Any type of weaving is forbidden. I'll try to speed it up a little bit. Number 20, unraveling, pulling a loose thread, right? So if say let me see if I got any strings here hanging. If I had a string here hanging and I pulled that, there you go, there's a string, right? What is today? It's Sunday, right? Okay. You pulled that string and you broke it. That's considered unraveling, so that would be breaking your Sabbath. Tying, that includes shoes and waist strings. You can't wear tieable shoes on the Sabbath if you need to tie them unless they're pre-tied, and same thing with waist strings. Leave that waist string alone, it's forbidden. Untying, same. If you untie it, if you tie your waistband and untie it, you've broken the Sabbath twice. Sewing, taping and stapling is included in that these days. So it's not just the art of sewing, which I would argue is more like into the twisting and weaving, but modern, for what they're saying, they say it's more like stapling or taping. Tearing, you can't tear paper, can't tear tape, can't tear an orange peel. There is no tearing. Moving on, number 25, trapping. No new pets or fishing. You cannot trap any animals in any way, shape, or form, whether you're picking up a stray or, which I'm hard to say, sorry to say that, but it's just part of it, or doing any fishing or hunting. And the hunting would be covered under 26, slaughtering. No taking life, spilling blood for any reason. So if you gotta prepare an animal for Saturday, you gotta do it Friday before sundown. Whew, almost done, guys. I know this was longer than I was thinking too. I'll speed it up. And I'm not going to number them anymore. This will be number 27, and I'll let you know about halfway through and then at the end. So 27, flaying, removing skin from food or removing fat from food. You cannot flay anything. And again, this is all going into the cooking one. Tanning, buying, using paper, because when they refer to tanning, they're talking about tanning papyrus and leathers for clothing apparatuses, and for writing. But in modern times, I would say unless you're actually doing tanning, you shouldn't be buying or using paper, because that's what the purpose of that would have been. Smoothing, no sanding, which includes face scrubs, but you can't sand anything, no smoothing anything out. Scoring, no greeting cards, because when you make a greeting card, you got to score it to bend it. I mean, I guess you could try to do it without scoring it, and then you can still make it, but you'd be making something and dyeing things with colors, so it's forbidden. Measured cutting, paper and pencil sharpening. So you can't cut paper, and you can't sharpen any pencils, and anything else that the words measured cutting would apply to. Writing, so printing, unlocking, texting, and all these things. When you think of writing, you don't think of unlocking your phone as writing, but anytime you're inputting letters and or numbers for any type of communication or action purpose, they didn't have those things back then. So that would be considered you're writing something with your hand on your phone, but it is, in modern ones, it is included. Same thing with texting. Just because you're texting, you're still writing in a more traditional sense. And printing's obvious. Number 33, erasing. Removing permanent symbols is what they're referring to specifically. Yeah, it's pretty blatant. I didn't have any examples for that one. And guys, again, sorry about the length of this video. I've been trying to get this one out for a while, so just let me finish getting this out. If you're interested, stay tuned. Otherwise, find another video. 34, building. We already covered that. Minecraft, or in modern times, work. You can't go to work on Saturday because that would be under that structure of building, building, because you would have been building things more than likely for your job. I'm missing here. So, construction should stop if you're a construction boss, and you shouldn't play Minecraft if you're a kid, and you shouldn't work if you're not doing any of those things. Demolishing, don't break nothing, right? Nothing. No punching holes in things. No, if you're big into karate and you like breaking boards, no breaking boards on Saturday. I know, it's horrible. No breaking a pencil because you're angry. No smashing stuff. Sorry, I'll move on. Okay. Almost done. Extinguishing. That would include you can't put out a cigarette butt, and you can't put out a candle. So you're not supposed to use heating elements, so you can't really light a candle. That's gray area. I'll have to look into that for myself later on. But yeah, you get the idea. Can't extinguish anything. Kindling would include vaping and smoking. It's not just kindling for a fire, it's kindling an object. And when you smoke, you have the red hot part, which would be considered kindling. And you're breathing that part. And you're breathing the kindling, but it's still considered kindling, and vaping would be the modern form of that. But again, no heating elements. Almost done. Final hammer blow, which means you cannot finish a task that is almost done. So if you're like so close as crazy long dream or task you've been doing for years and years, or days and days, months and months, whatever, you cannot go put that final nail in the wall. You cannot go hang up that poster on that project you finished yesterday. You got to wait till Sunday or Saturday night, guys. It's not really that long. These things sound extreme, but you got to remember, I'm only talking about Friday night, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. That's it. It's not going to kill you. And lastly, 39. Woo! Transferring. You cannot transfer any object. That includes trash to the street. You cannot use a baby carriage. You can't transfer any of that stuff. And you can't carry food. So again, going to the grocery store would be null and void if you are honoring the Sabbath. Woo! That turned out a lot longer than I wanted it to or thought it would. So please forgive the length of this video, but I've been wanting to put this one out for a long time. If you see the Honoring the Sabbath video in the Christian Contemplation series, you'll see how long I've been wanting to put this video out, because I started that shortly after that. So, alrighty, so there we have it. That is my Sabbath breakdown. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't enjoy it, I hope it was at least informative, but thank you so much for your time and stopping by the Broken Buddha. Peace and blessings.